and my name is Marion Roten. Okay. Building steps. The first thing I built was the power pod over here. It was pretty easy. The hardest part was attaching the motor to the pod, kind of the plastic, just because it was like really tight and I had to screw stuff in. Then I built the fuselage, and that like maintains like doublers kind of like towards the front for like extra stability. That one was pretty easy too. It just took a lot of hot gluing and holding things down. Then I built the empennage with the rudder and like tail. This part had the servos and the control horns. This was the hardest part, I would say, kind of the building steps, because it was kind of hard for me to figure out like where to attach everything, because we were going off the video, and the video said to put it on the inside of the plane, but we put it on the outside, and it was kind of just like typed up explanation with pictures, and I was like, wait, what's happening? But I figured it out. A lot of trial and error. I would put like things in the wrong spot, and then I'd have to like take them out and like reattach them in the correct spot, or like flip things around, stuff like that. Okay. And then I would do double checks, making sure the servos are going in the correct direction and that they were straight and lined up. And then just adding like extra stability on the side of the plane to make sure like the rods stay in place. And then I built the wings. The wings were pretty easy. They just like kind of sit on top of the plane. And the hardest part about this one was making sure they had that curve, because there was actually supposed to be more of a curve on the plane, but I think my hot glue was too heavy. So it kind of just like sunk it down, or like wasn't holding it enough. But yeah. And then I did final checks and checked my center of gravity, which you can see in the picture below. Then I hot glued the plane, like all around the plane, to make sure like for like extra security when it probably like crashed and stuff. And then I did the propeller, and I made sure it spun the correct way and that it didn't fly off if I had 100% like throttle. Okay, what is in my flight bag? So I had my transmitter. I used the FlySky. It's pretty easy. I really liked it. Then I had a utility knife. It was great for like cutting off the tape, or like cutting the foam. And then I had packing tape to tape in the battery to keep it in, or like tape things I needed. And then I had super glue because I didn't have hot glue out there at the dairy field. So this was like really good for quick fixes if I just had to like re-glue something together. And then I had extra foam from like Hobby Lobby. It was like $2. It was great for like quick repairs. Oops. And then extra rubber bands if a rubber band snapped, because I had a lot of them on my plane. Okay, this was my first flight. Okay. That apparently my elevator was backwards and like up was actually down and down is up. So I fixed that. And also I broke my motor. Like the actual like motor broke off, and Duke had another one I can use, which I was like so happy, because that would have been probably hard for me to get a new one. So yeah, I broke my motor, and then I had to go back and fix it, and like I had to rebuild the power pod, had to get a new motor, and then like switch the controls on the empennage. I mean, on the elevator, which is really easy. I just like hit one button. And yeah, that was my maiden flight. Wasn't that great? Okay, and then my improvements. So what I decided to do for my improvement build was winglets, because winglets increase the lift by reducing wingtip vortices, and the curve in the winglets can increase like the wingspan, so it kind of like acts like the wings are bigger than they really are, which my problem was like lift. So I was like, oh, I really, really want lift. And the building process was pretty simple. I just kind of like freestyled. I was like, well, they probably look like this, kind of like the pictures online. And then I just kind of cut it out, and then I tore off one side of the foam, and then I curved it on the table to give it that curve. Then I used toothpicks and like tape, and then I hot glued to like attach everything, which it looked pretty good. Like I was pretty happy with the results. You can see I also added popsicle sticks at the front to help her when it like crashes, so it doesn't like destroy the front of the plane. But that's the stability. Okay, and this is my improvement flight. That was attempt 1. I actually hand launched that one, but the person recording didn't record that part. Yeah, so that was not very good. Okay. And then I realized like it was so hard for me to hand launch, so I actually had someone else throw it for me, the person recording, and they helped, but they threw it too hard, kind of like at football, so it got caught in the wind because it was super windy that day, and it kind of just like keeled over. Yes. Okay, this is my third attempt. Yeah. I tried different power settings when I like through the attempts. I was like, okay, 50%. And then on the third attempt, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna full throttle it when you throw this thing and just like hold down on the elevators or like so I could get it up. It's like maybe that's what I need, just go to the extremes. But it didn't work, which I'm really sad about. And then after this crash, I broke my motor again. So it was like, oh, I can't fix this. Because I would need a new one. It was doing the same thing my first motor did, where it was kind of like, it wouldn't fully spin. Kind of like, sounded like there was something caught in it. So I was like, oh no. So that was my improvement flight. Never really flew, but I still tried. Oh. Okay. And then my expectations versus reality. Okay. I thought the wings... I expected. I thought the wings would be like the easiest to build because you kind of folded it over, but my wings wouldn't hold the curve, like the little curve it needed. Maybe that was like a problem why I didn't fly. I thought it'd be really easy to pair the transponder for some reason, but it took me a long time to pair the transponder. Like, and the receiver, like I just couldn't bind it. Like I would go outside, I'd go inside, I'd go like away from technology. I was like, it took me a very long time to like actually bind it. They would not bind. But I did eventually. It bounded. And I also expected it to fly on the first try, or any try actually. But it did not fly and it crashed, and I actually had to rebuild the power pod a few times. Like during one of those attempts, I actually like had to like rebuild the power pod with like the extra foam I had. And I also broke some motors, so that was the reality. I did not expect that at all. Okay, what did I learn? I learned how to build a plane. I learned how like servos, batteries, and propellers. Like I learned how to like build and use those things, which I didn't really know how to do that before. I also never built an RC plane before, so that was a really fun experience. I actually really enjoyed building the plane itself. It was a lot of fun. It was like a craft. I love crafting. And then I also became more comfortable using a transponder because I learned how to like set it up, which I actually thought was kind of interesting. And how to bind it, yeah, and like how to like fix it. I also learned how to like charge the battery, because apparently like I thought I was charging the battery correctly, but I realized I didn't have everything plugged in. And then I also learned how to fly a fixed wing plane, fly in air quotation marks. But I did learn how I'm supposed to fly it. I also learned how to hand launch, which I've never done before. Or like how you're supposed to like throw it, because we did go over that in class, and I was like, that was really interesting. I also learned resilience because my plane did not do really well, but I kept trying at it even though it kept failing. Okay, and then my suggestions for future classes. I loved when the professor came in person and helped us because I was kind of struggling. I didn't really know too much. Like, I've made a lot of mistakes. So I really loved that the professor came in for, like, to help set up the propeller towards the end. I really like that. I would totally keep that in the future. But I would also do maybe like an in-person fly day up in Logan and have like the price people zoom in or something just to help us like hand fly it. Like maybe like if the professor threw it correctly, then maybe like it would have like flown or something, or like if I knew how to throw it correctly. So like I think that would have been super helpful. Or like when it broke during the class, like maybe they could give me pointers and stuff. Like not that the Zoom didn't work at all and it wasn't helpful, but like the in-person connection would probably be nice. And then maybe a video on how to install the servos and the control horns, because it was just like a piece of paper with text on it, which was really nice. Like I still read it and like it worked in class. Like I figured it out eventually, but I think a video would have been maybe a little helpful. So those are my suggestions. And then my favorite parts and least favorite parts. My favorite part was working with the foam. I really liked it. I like crafting and stuff, so it was kind of just like a big craft to me in the beginning. I really liked building it. And then I also liked playing with the transponder, like setting it up correctly and like learning how to set it up and use it. I really enjoyed that. And I also loved finishing building it because it was actually bigger than I thought. I thought this would be like, I guess a little smaller. But I was like, wow, this is actually kind of big. Like fitting into my car. Yeah. And then my least favorite part was installing the servos and the control horns, and I also did not enjoy crashing it multiple times. But thank you. I had a really fun semester, and thank you for watching my presentation.